What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, Off the Cuff, where conversations lead to inspiration. I'm your host, Christian Palmer, and today I'm joined by the one and only CEO of Kickstarter. It's genuine, it's raw, authentic, and he's a walking inspiration to all of us. He's been an inspiration to me. He's really shaping and really creating a path for entrepreneurs, creatives, musicians, and everybody in the creative space to keep dreaming. So without further ado, here's Off the Cuff with Everette Taylor. Everette, what's going on, man?
Up, man. Good to see you again.
Likewise, bro, man.
Yeah.
Literally in quick of a time, you're back here, bro, and I'm glad to have you in just a one-to-one space to really dive into your story. Bro, I'm immediately inspired by you, bro, man.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
When I first saw you, when I first met you, we connected, and I feel like it just went uphill from there. And to have you in this space is just like a full circle moment. So just thank you for making time for us.
I appreciate you, man. I'm inspired by you and what you're trying to do, man. So the feeling's mutual.
Step by step, you know what I'm saying? And we start this conversation always because it's called Off the Cuff because the best conversations happen when you're not prepared.
Yeah.
And I want this to be a conversation to really unravel who you are behind the scenes, sometimes things that we don't often see. So I want to kind of kick it off by the upbringings, right?
Yeah.
I know we've seen tons of media around it. We've been on other platforms talking about it, but I want you to kind of tell us a little bit more of who Everette Taylor is in those upbringings.
Yeah, who am I in these upbringings? One thing that I haven't really spoken about that I was thinking about recently, especially being around family, was just Thanksgiving.
Fire.
I was, talking to my mom recently, and she was like, yo, you were such a weird kid. Legitimately, just naturally curious. And I think growing up, it's like you hear these stories. I've done the interviews, grow up in the projects, grow up in the hood, homeless, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing that I don't really talk about was like my mentality as a kid or growing up. And I saw the world around me and I questioned everything. Like I was like, yo, why why are we broke like this? Or why is things like this? Or why is our family like this? Like I just always questioned things. And I saw how people, even at an early age would do 1 + 1 and it would equal 2. And I was like, wait, well, if you do this and you end up on drugs, or you do this and do this, you end up in jail or dead or whatever. It just didn't make sense to me. I was like, it was like the Matrix to me. I saw it clearly. I'm like, wait, there has to be different. And so a lot of people, when I was growing up, they would see things in movies and TV shows and they would just see it as entertainment. I was like, wait, no, there's a whole wide world out here, you know what I mean? Like that I can enjoy, experience something new, experience something different. And I didn't take all of the madness that was around me as like, this has to be my life. And so even at a young age, I saw that I had to be different and do different to get different results. And if I just did the same things that everyone else was doing, even though I did get caught up on the drug game for a little bit, but but for the most part, I realized in that, stretch from just adolescence into college, seeing people do X, Y, Z and be like, oh, if I do this and I do this, then it equals to this. And it's like, man, that's such a boring life. And so for me, I just always wanted different. I always wanted to live a different life. And I saw patterns and I saw the algorithms happening in real life. That's why I call it the Matrix. Wow. Like, when he saw, like, it was people walking around and doing things, but it was all code, right? Exactly. And to me, that's how I saw life. I saw life and I was like, man, all right, so you go to college and you get your degree and then you move here and then you work your job and you work your 9 to 5 and you move up over 20 years. I was like, man, I don't want to do that. And the same thing where I came from, like seeing my mom struggle or seeing, my uncles and the men in my family locked up over the drug game and things like that. I just kind of looked at the landscape and was like, man, there has to be better than this.
I love that, man. I think you do such an amazing job tapping into it. And the fact that you said, tapping back into that relationship with your mom, I'm curious to know, how was your relationship with your mom growing up? What are some of the things she taught you?
I had a very interesting relationship with my mom because, off bat as a black man, like the black man, your mama, like that's your dog, that's your type. And I love my mom with all my heart, and I love the sacrifices that she made, but it was a little bit different because my mom worked nights. So, you got to understand that from an early age, like I remember, you know, getting up for school, having to get myself ready because my mom was asleep because she worked all night.
Yeah.
And then coming home, and if I had some after school activity, my mom was already gone to work, or I was coming home and I remember speaking through this wooden bathroom door because she was getting ready for work. So like, I didn't really see my mom like that until the weekends really. And then on the weekends, she was like trying to rest and chill and things like that. And so as much as I love my mom, there was, and this is something I've actually never talked about. I feel like I'm talking to my therapist right now.
Fire.
But there was like this piece of that relationship that I always wish I had that I never had because of the sacrifices that she was making for me and the family. You know what I mean? And so to me, what I learned from her is like, you know, at the end of the day, there's no excuses. Like you got to put food on the table. You got to do the things that you got to do for your family and the people that you love, and even doing things that you don't love. My mom was a custodian, man. She was cleaning people's toilets, cleaning people's floors, all that, you know what I mean? She was doing that every night on her hands and knees, scrubbing floors, scrubbing toilets, like to do, that's why even as a CEO, there's nothing that is above me, bro. There's nothing. Like, I hate when people feel like they're too good to do something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, there's people out here that are really doing some of the most menial, like degrading tasks sometimes, you know what I'm saying? To make ends meet. And so for me, my mom taught me like, yo, nothing is above you. You're like, you're no better than anybody else, and you got to take care of your family.
Bro, I love that, man. I think it resonates so much for me because I think about the sacrifices my parents make, you know, and although I'm still I feel like the journey's so far ahead from me and I'm still kind of walking in there. That's the motivation. That's the why.
Yeah.
You know, and if you had like just a few minutes just to share your gratitude, appreciation to your mom right now, what would you say to her?
You know, I say, Mom, I understand. You know, I think you know, there was like a little bit of resentment at times and things like that, but like, cause you want your mom around, you want that love, you want that, you know, I would have bad days coming back from school where I got in a fight or something bad happened and I didn't have my mom. Like I didn't have her there for that like comfort, and like I had to figure things out for myself. But the older and older I get, I just understand how large the sacrifices were that she made.
Beautiful, man. I love that because you're paving the way and we see the success, you know, and I think those sacrifices didn't go in vain.
Nope.
They were for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think you navigating through your career, right, and you touch upon being a CEO, because I think having the upbringing that you had, going through the careers, being a CMO at different large companies and stuff, and now pivoting to a CEO, which is very unlikely, right, especially for a young Black man as yourself. You said in many platforms, like you are the true testament of what the power of saying no to, manifestation, tapping into what you're called to do. And I think for you, it's just been such an inspiring thing to do, because you mentioned other platforms too. Like you said, you wanted to make a point. You're trying to make a point being in this space right now. Through the entire transitionings of from CMO to CEO and right now, like how did you keep your vision set and your end goal to be where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the power of no, and man, saying no sometimes is the hardest thing to do in your life. Saying no to money, saying no to different opportunities, saying no to things that like in the near term might feel good or might make you more money or et cetera, but you know the path that you're on. And I think for me being, you know, CMO, I knew I wanted to jump to CEO. I knew how rare that jump was. And we talked about it on the panel a little bit, like, yo, recruiters and firms was laughing at me. They would literally laugh. Like I'd be on the phone and I'm hearing them chuckle.
Wow.
When I say I want to be a CEO.
That's
like
crazy.
It's crazy, you know? And they're like, aha, you know? And
what did that do to you in that moment?
In that moment, it's like, it's not even disheartening. It's just kind of like, all right, bet. You know what I mean? Like,
fire,
cool,
bet,
all right, bet. Because that's been my whole life, man. My whole life has been people telling me I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And I haven't had one person prove me yet to be right. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. you know? So to me, it's like everything that people told me that I couldn't do, I wouldn't be able to do outside of going to the league. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Outside of that,
Right.
hey, listen, like look, you know, you never know.
Yeah,
you know?
facts.
but let me stop playing. I'm not going to the league.
Wait.
But outside of that, everything that people have told me I couldn't do, I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I only have a high school degree. I don't have a college degree. I dropped out. You know what I mean? I didn't take this like traditional path and things like that. I went to startups. I, you know, started my own companies. You know, you don't want to hire me as a CEO, I'll start my own thing. Oh, you don't want to, you know, give me the big marketing job, I'll go to a smaller startup and scale it to $1 billion company. Like that was my, that was my mentality with everything. But you know, like I said, the power is saying no, man. People will laugh and, you know, and things like that. But I knew that was the path that I wanted to be on. And so I was getting offered CMO jobs from some of the biggest, hottest companies in the world, like where it's like real money, you know what I mean? And I like turned them down.
What made you turn them down? Like, was there something you talked about wanting to be a CEO, but was there, because sometimes those opportunities are very tempting. And appealing. And sometimes we feel like we got to jump this opportunity because it might be a ladder to the next opportunity, and we get caught up so much in the fluff or like how appealing it is. So you know, in the forefront. But how do you be so disciplined to say this is not what the end goal looks like?
I mean, I think also I'm in a place of privilege. Like I would say that to anybody watching this. Like my heart goes out to people who are like living check to check and trying to make ends meet, and it's like, man, an extra $10,000 in salary would literally change my life, you know? Like, and so I want to say this, like, my heart goes out to those people because I know what it's like to be in that position, right? Like, there is a privilege to financial security. There is a privilege to being in a place where finances isn't the thing that is dictating every decision. So as I'm giving this you know, this testimony in a sense, I hear all these people always giving advice and things like that. And I'm like, yo, I'm in a different place, you know? And so that made it, just keeping it real, it made it easier for me. But I had to make decisions earlier on where I had to say no to going to college or taking a job with this company or whatever, because I knew what path that I was on. So I've always had that discipline, and it's because I know what life I want to live. Ultimately, I see that this is a marathon, bro. I'm 34. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like I have so much more life to live. Like I'm only like maybe a third through my life if I'm blessed enough. You know what I mean? So that's crazy. I still got another 60% of my life to live.
Wow.
Even with everything that I've done. And I'm like, I want to live and build the life that I want to live. And I understand that like those temporary pleasures, like those go away and they fade, you know what I mean? And so for me, it's about what is the thing, where am I trying to get and what's gonna get me there in the long run? And I've made those choices throughout my career, and it's gotten me to this point.
I love that, bro, because I think a lot of us are in a season. We always go through different seasons, right?
Yeah.
And I could share just my season hasn't been linear, but it's been very grateful. And one of the words that top of the year that I didn't really understand or how it reflected my life, it was humility. And I was just like, you know, I went to Trinity, and the pastor was telling me, hey, like the word that just always caught up to me was humility. And I was just like, I didn't really understand how it would impact or be in my life. And I'm like, all right, I just ran with it. And so much has had happened to really keep me in those angles of humility.
Yeah.
Right. And when you talk about living the life you want to live, what was that pivotal moment for you that you finally wanted to take life under your control versus life taking you by its control? Like, what was that pivotal moment for you?
I mean, to be honest, like being homeless, like being in a position of not being able to take care of yourself, but also not being able to like help out your family, that's a cold thing to go through. And you see that, oh, I lose my job and then that's it. If I can't get another job, like that's it. Like there's nobody there to help you. That's it, you know? And that was like a hard lesson to learn. I was like, wow, I really can't depend on one company, one job, one thing. You know, if I put my life in the hands of everybody else, I'm never going to be where I want to be. I'm never going to feel comfortable. And so I knew, and you look at my career, it's like, yeah, I'm taking certain roles and marketing executive roles, but I'm still building companies at the same time. I'm like, yo, I'm never going to not be an entrepreneur, you know? Like no company, even Kickstarter, I love Kickstarter to death. It's the best job I've ever had. I feel like I'm doing my life's work. But at the end of the day, it's just still a job. Like tomorrow, the board, the chairman, you saw with OpenAI, like, you know what I mean, yo, he finessed that. Bro.
Yeah,
like, you know, but like tomorrow, I here today, gone tomorrow. You know, when you have a job, man. So to me, it's like I put everything into my hands. I'm always gonna be an entrepreneur. I'm always gonna have side hustles. I'm always gonna be hustling, man. Like people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, you're this or that. Oh, you're a tech guy, you're an art guy, you're this. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm a hustler. Like I'm gonna figure it out. Right. You know what I mean? If I gotta sell cupcakes, bro, they're gonna be fire. And I'm gonna make a meal off of it. You know what I mean? That's my mentality. Like that's just who I am. Like I'm gonna find a way.
I love that, man. And you do, because I think that mindset, man, like I'm telling you, bro, when I first met you, I was immediately inspired. I'm like, yeah, that's one, it's the energy. And then two, you said it on the panel that we spoke about, and you also talked about it too in kind of the green room. It was just about being a good person. Yeah. And not forgetting your morals or your values and what you stand for. And I think you're super intentional, how you show up, where you show up, who you show up with, and what you say. And I think one of the things I've always appreciated about you is your honesty. You know, because I think oftentimes we don't hear the true person outside of the titles. Yeah. And I can say, man, you are creating your own path for all of us to continue to see you like, hey, unconventional, like you have an unconventional path. It doesn't have to always be the right way. It just saying true to who you are. And I just wanted to share how much I appreciate that, just from like the short time we've got to know each other and what I've absorbed. Yeah, you're really doing it, bro. So kudos to you.
It's important to me because there is no blue, and I mean this from every humble bone in my body. I don't have a blueprint. There's no one my age in my position doing what I'm doing. Like I don't have anybody that I could be like, hey Tom, hey, you know, Brian, how is this? You know what I mean? Especially as a black man. Word. I'm talking about as a black man. There's some rich, you know, some white guys running billion-dollar companies. I'm talking about a young black man, you know what I mean? Like I don't have anybody that I can like look at that's like, wow, you're going through the same, you're doing the same thing, you're going through it, you know what I mean? And dealing with these things. And so, and then being in the limelight too. Like people, CEOs I know obviously are way older. And then on top of that is typically don't have a bunch of followers or don't have all of the social and the public brand responsibilities. That's another job in itself, you know what I mean? And so everything that I tend to do is just, I feel like I don't really have a blueprint. So it's really important for me to lay the blueprint. I just found out, when is this going out?
Either later this month or top of January 2024.
Okay, I can't say the company, but I just found out that I'm joining my first public company board at 34, you know what I mean? Congrats. And from the data, it's like, I think I'm gonna be the second youngest public board member in the country right now or something like that, you know what I mean? Definitely probably the youngest black board member in the public company board member in the country. And the average age this year for public company board members was the youngest ever in history, and that was 58.
Wow.
So I'm 24 years below the average, you know what I mean? And so for me, this is not me bragging, this is me saying like, I really don't have people that I can look and be like, yo, what is this like? What is this, you know, being at this age, being this young, being black. And so it's really important for me to do things different. It's important for me to show people that you can look different, be different, have different drip, have hair, crazy hair. I was just talking to a homie of mine where his company was like, yo, on the side was like, yo, we need you to cut your hair.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Beastie.
Crazy. That's illegal, by the way. You know what I mean? No, it's illegal.
Yeah,
You can't
for
tell
sure.
somebody to cut their hair. But, these things are happening. So for me, it's really, really important. Sorry to be so long drawn out, but it's really important for me to show this very authentic personality, this authentic person who I am to people, to show them that, like, yo, you don't have to be an old white man to sit on a public company board. You don't have to be an old white man to, run a major brand or a major tech company and things like that. I want to show people that great leaders come in all shapes, forms, sizes, races, backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's really important to me. And so I want to make sure that I'm always honest, I'm always genuine in my approach, that it can inspire other people that don't feel like they fit the mold.
Jumping in here real quick, just to let you know that we're actually shooting this live at SOHO WORKS. SOHO WORKS has been an amazing partner with Off the Cuff to really bring our dreams to life. They have so much to offer in this space. It's a co-working space that you can actually utilize. So if you click the link in the description below, you can actually claim your complimentary day pass to utilize the space yourself. You don't want to miss out.
You do, man. You're doing a phenomenal job of it, because we see anything as possible through you. Yeah. And as you continue to get into these spaces, it's just a living testimony that you are shaping the narrative. You are bringing other people along the way. And ultimately, there's no real blueprint, because if Everett could do it, why can't I do it? Yeah. And it's funny though, because in one of my questions, I actually had mentorship, and I was actually curious to see who you were leaning into. Yeah. But you just answered it. You said, like, you really don't have, people that you can lean into of just like, CEO things, because no one really looks like you. But how do you go about developing a core group of people that you trust? Right, because I think oftentimes a lot of the is very transactional, right? Especially in the industry that we may be in, it's very transactional. It's just like, this opportunity's here, cool, it worked out, we'll keep it going. But if it didn't, now we pivot into the next. But how do you continue to gravitate towards a core group of people that you trust, that are able to be in your corner to say, hey, maybe that opportunity is not for you, or yes, go after it? Yeah,
I do have people that offer mentorship. They just don't look like me or my age. You know what I mean? Like Fred Wilson, who's one of the, most well-known venture capitalists of all time, runs USV. He sits on our board. He's a chairman of Etsy, actually, and chairman of SoundCloud. Billionaire, I think, much older than me, but like, that's my dog, you know what I mean? Like, he's super cool. I know I can hit him up anytime, man. Like, anytime I shoot him an email, text, he answers same day, maybe within the same 10 minutes. Like, it's crazy. And I really appreciate that. And then there's also Chad Dickerson, who's also older than me. He was actually the former CEO of Etsy, so the Etsy connection there. But like, that's the homie too, man, and he really looks out. But in terms of, and those are two older white men, you know what I mean? Yeah. So in terms of, people that look like me or around my age, I think there's people that I just really respect what they're doing, whether it's not what you might think. It might be somebody in music, it might be somebody in art, it might be somebody in film. Like, I love talking to creative people doing different, I was talking to this guy the other day that's like putting on this new play. Like, I'm like, wow, that's amazing, And so I find inspiration through the conversations of the community that I'm building, of creators and entrepreneurs and creators and movers and shakers across different industries. To be honest, I don't really get inspired by people that do what I do. It's like, I kind of know what that is. Yeah. You know what I mean? I get inspired by people who are in a completely different lane, and being able to take bits and pieces of their experience and how they look at the world and things like that, and let it inspire my journey and how I look at the world.
I love that, bro. And I think you do an amazing thing of doing that, right? And I think I want to tap into one of the quotes that you said as well. And I like to bring this up because I think it's so profound, especially for the audience who may be tuning in today, around just, blocking our blessings or getting in our own way. And you said something around the lines of, I think a lot of the thing that is stopping us from being the person we truly want to be is ourselves. And I think you said it with impact theory. I've been watching him for a while of just every person he gets on there, and it was like a 2 years ago, right?
Man, that might have been 2019. That might be 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
And I saw a young
Everette.
You know what I'm saying? And it was really amazing to see you in that space, because I think Tom does an amazing job unraveling some of those deeper questions. But can you elaborate more on this, of when you first realized that you were actually getting in your own way?
When did I realize I was getting in my own way? You know, I would say that I don't know if there's like one moment that like sticks out of me getting in my own way. But what I will say is that what I was talking about earlier before, I recognize that very young. I recognize how if you waste your time, if you be focused on the wrong things, all of that, be hanging with the wrong people, et cetera, I just recognize that at an early age. So to me, when I say things like, yo, you can really get in your own way, you know, I really think about what I was seeing around me, you know, really, really seeing what I saw around me. I will say, now that I'm thinking about it, this is off the cuff, like I really didn't have an answer for this. One thing where I did get in my way, this is a great one. You have to understand when you're building a business, you shouldn't be the best at anything. Like literally, if you're trying to build a great business, a great scalable business, like you really should be like the least smart person in any facet, whether it's marketing or product, engineering, sales. You need to build really incredible people around you. And I think there was a part of my career where I wanted to be the best at everything, you know? And I tried to do so much, and it's like you only, you know, hamper yourself from being successful in your company, from being more successful, trying to do too much or trying to be the man, you know? And it's really about getting help, and it's really about having the right people around you, you know? Like this, even what we're doing right now, you couldn't do this by yourself. Like you got people that are supporting you. And that's really, really important, because you had to do this by yourself. If you didn't have the support system that you had, man, it'd be 10 times harder. You know, and so I realized that was one thing that was hindering my success, was not having the humility to ask for help and the humility to know that, like, man, running a company and being a successful executive CEO is not about being the smartest person or being the most skilled person. It's about having the right people around you.
Yeah, and I definitely agree, you know, and shout out to Christina behind the lens and stuff of of just making all of this come to life, you know. And team is important, you know, and you're doing an amazing thing by the hires, by creating a safe space at Kickstarter. And I want to give you the platform to share a little bit more about the amazing things you're doing at Kickstarter, what it is and what it's not, because I think a lot of people, you know, have the whole notion of the GoFundMes of the stuff of raising capital and all that to really fund your ideas. But I want to give you the platform to share kind of what you're doing, what the vision is for Kickstarter for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think, this is my honest opinion, probably outside of maybe Apple, I don't think there's a more impactful company in the world than Kickstarter. The reason I'll give Apple that, because so many people got Apple devices in their hands and use them every day. But in terms of impact in the world, I'm talking about the products that we use each and every day, the jobs that have been created, the way the economy has been stimulated, the amount of literally millions of people's dreams coming true. Like, there has never been a company that has been as impactful, in my opinion, in that way than Kickstarter. And, you know, you talk about GoFundMe, and sometimes there is this confusion between the brands, but GoFundMe a lot of times, to me, is a little bit of a darker business, man. It's like, oh, my mom has cancer, or like our house burned down, or like someone got hurt. Like, it's a lot of times dipped in tragedy. The beautiful thing about Kickstarter, none of that is on our platform. It's only for creative projects. So anything that you want to bring into the world, anything new in the world, from games, film, fashion, music, podcasts, tech, design, everything you can possibly think of, music, all has come out of Kickstarter. You know what I mean? And that's what's so beautiful about it. And it creates a structure, which I think you would really appreciate. It creates a structure where people don't feel like they have to abide by the rules or abide by the structures around us and the constructs around us. It's like, I don't have to sign that record deal. I don't need to get that book publishing deal. You know what I mean? I don't have to raise venture capital money. I can get the funds and the support that I need via this platform. And I think that's such a powerful thing.
Oh man, you heard it here. Like, we're gonna take this to the moon next year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that's definitely something I want to unravel with you, of like Kickstarter and what that looks like. Because I think ultimately, like, there's a reason why, like, I feel this feeling in my heart since like top of the year, since we're having a conversation now, that everything is in divine timing.
Yep.
And I think I'm here for a reason. I think the fact that you shared that there's so many different opportunities that we don't know. And I think it was so great to hear that response, because I know there's a lot of creators that may say like, I need the capital, I need the funding, I need X, Y, and Z. And now we have a full line vessel to say, yo, Kickstarter's your answer.
Yep, 100%.
You know? So in that same note of just offering advice for the entrepreneurs, creatives out there who may be tuning in and looking to you as an inspiration, of saying, hey, maybe I don't have to take the right path. Maybe there is no blueprint to this. You know, what would you share to them of reaching the impossible?
First of all, nothing is impossible. That's the first thing. Like, you have to have that mentality that anything is possible in your life. You know, like, that's getting in the right mindset is number one. Number two is, man, time is the most valuable thing that we have. And I talked about this on the panel a little bit. The amount of time that people waste day in and day out, like, I literally feel my life slipping away when I'm wasting time. You know, people will sit on a couch and be on Instagram and TikTok for hours and be like, man, I really want to, you know, I want to be on my grind. I want to make this music. I want to start this company. And I'm like, well, man, you just spent 2 hours on social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you just wasted that. Or you going out every night, turning up. You know, I had to make certain sacrifices in my life. Not going out all the time and not doing this, and sometimes not having fun, because I knew what the ultimate goal was. You know, and I'm not sitting here to say not spend time with your family or your girl or whatever. Like, please do that. But there's a lot of unnecessary things that we do with our time. And I'm telling you, you'll outwork anybody if you optimize your time.
Wow. How do you go about doing that for yourself? How do you create that healthy balance? Or how did you?
To be on healthy balance of spending time with family and friends, or the balance of like being able to optimize my time?
The balance of optimizing your time.
I mean, I don't know if balance is the right word, but I think I would look at my day and I was like, all right, I need X amount of time to sleep. I need X amount of time for like so I don't lose my mind, you know what I mean? Like, I need to go hoop, or I need to go, you know, just watch a movie on Netflix, or I gotta go read or something. Like, you can't lose your mind. Like, I've been there, where I'm sure you've been there too, where you're working, you're grinding, you're like, oh my God, I'm about to lose it, you know, because you're not taking care of yourself. And so after you cut out all of that, the rest of that time is grind. Like, the rest of that time is, and I guarantee you at least, when you cut that, you probably have at least 10 to 12 hours of focused work a day that you could dedicate to your dream or whatever you want to do. You know how much you can do in 10 to 12 hours a day?
Beastie.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Do you know, like, think about it. You've had jobs and stuff like that. Most people in an 8-hour shift, you work in a corporate job, tech job, a lot of these people working like 2, 3, 4 hours a day, especially now we're in remote work.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, yo, you got 4 or 5 hours that you're technically getting paid for, and you're just like, nah, I just want to chill. Just get these Doritos and then just chill, watch Revolt, like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, that's crazy. That's a gift, man. that's a gift. And I see so many young people right now, especially in this remote culture. It's driving me insane because I feel like people are working less and less hard,
Right.
and it impacts any company that you're running at this point. But people just don't really recognize the time that they have, and they don't utilize that time. And if you really think about yourself right now, you're probably thinking like, man, like I could maybe utilize my time.
Off,
I can cut this off. I could do this better, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's real, man.
I like, and I'm so happy you said that, because I'm like, you're right. I'm like checking in my mind, kind of creating that habit or that checklist to say maybe I could like reposition my time to do X and do Y and stuff. Because ultimately, you know, we have dreams. I have that vision. I have that goal to even have you on the platform, like we mentioned, is just insane. I'm like, oh yeah, like at what point, because I was speaking to my therapist the other day too, right? And talking about time, of like very short amount of time that we had. And you touched upon it too. It's just like sometimes you don't have anywhere to go or people to, you know, share these moments with and so on and so forth because they don't look like you. But at what point in your life do you feel like you worked so hard to deserve this? Because I was on the panel and I was on a high on the panel because I'm like, yo, I got Everette, I got Charles here, I have Nazanin here. And I'm like, oh, this is the dream come true. Like, I'm really doing this, right? And then my therapist is like, yo, why are you surprised? And I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't know I could, one, pull that off, or two, sometimes I second guess that, am I in the right space?
Yeah.
But he said, at what point do you think that you deserve this? At what point do you say that you worked so hard to get here?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you that question. Like, you've accomplished so much throughout your career.
Yeah.
So many platforms, so many stages, so many keynotes, so many shows. You're on the limelight almost every other day or every day, right? At what point do you say, you sit down to yourself like, yo, I deserve this?
I've been feeling like that for a long time. I feel like some people, they got an angel and a devil on their shoulder. For me, I got good Kanye and bad Kanye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for me, like, I've always had that good Kanye of like, man, like, I feel like I'm destined for more. And that doesn't mean that I think I'm better than anybody or anything like that. I just always felt like, man, like, I deserve a better life. I deserve to have peace of mind and love and all these things, you know? Like, since I was young, I felt that way, you know? And I haven't always been good in practice of like treating myself the way I should have and all that, and, you know, all of that. But I always felt like I deserved it though, you know? And that, man, you gotta let that go, my G.
Yeah.
You gotta let that go, because, you know, what the universe has for you, whatever you believe in the cosmic skies, is that's what's meant for you, man. You know, and like, embrace it, because life is short, man. And like, I'm trying to be more present and enjoy the blessings that are coming my way. You know, after our panel, you know, I was like, I just want to enjoy tonight, and I enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's it, man. It's like, I don't need to go back home and get work done and things like that. And so just enjoy it, man. Like, give yourself the freedom to love yourself. Give yourself the freedom and permission to, you know, accept good things into your life. I you know, that's not always easy.
Absolutely.
But you got to give yourself permission.
Absolutely, man. And, you know, I think just God continues to show that there's no limits to this.
Yep.
You know, and in the last couple of questions here, I just want to, you know, wrap it up and say, for everybody tuning in today, for people who have just, you know, meeting you for the first time or watching you for the first time, hearing your story, what do you want them to take away from your story?
Man, we didn't cover it too much, but, you know, I just want people, at the end of the day, in any capacity, when people interact with me or interact with my story, I just want people to be like, man, he was a good person. I don't need to be the most successful person, the most rich person, anything. It's just like, man, he's a good person. He's a kind person. That's always what I want people to take away from me at any point in my life. And I think at some points we're like, man, I want I want to floss. I want people to think I'm cool. I want people to think I got money, or I don't want people to think these things or see me in this way. Like, I don't care no more. Like, as long as people are like, nah, man, he's a good dude. That's all I care about.
That's amazing. You know, but before we wrap up, there's something you said very profound, because I'm like, you don't care about the perception of others. I feel like that's so many of us right now, especially in social media.
Yeah.
The likes, the shares, the comments, all of these other things, they get in the way. Because I got to perceive myself at this person to get this gig or be on this, show, panel, et cetera, et cetera. But when did you kind of be like, hey, this is not who I truly am? Like, when did that start to become a conflict for you?
I mean, it was me, but, I experienced some of the most traumatic moments mental health wise in my life in 2020. I mean, it was a rough year for a lot of people. Yeah. And I realized how stupid all of this is, man. All of this is. It's like people are always trying to prove something to somebody. It's like, yo, if you're flying on a private jet, cool, enjoy the private jet. You don't have to show everybody. You courtside of the game, cool, good for you. I'm watching the game on TV. I don't need to see it on your Instagram story. Word. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like we're constantly trying to prove to people that we are something, or prove our coolness, or prove our wealth, or prove, like, you're constantly trying to prove something. And when you just kind of sit with yourself and just like, man, I just want to enjoy my life. If you look what I share on Instagram, I share business stuff that supports Kickstarter, business, my brand, art, and supporting the homies.
Yeah.
Like, I might post a little something here and there, but rarely, you know what I mean? Right. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about people's perception. And like 2020, when you saw all those people dying, when I was in a bad mental health space, I was like, man, none of this matters. None of it matters. And all of the stuff that you're seeing on social media is fake. These people be living other people's lives. They don't got money like that, rarely. People aren't telling you that they're depressed. People aren't telling you that they're heartbroken. People aren't telling you that they're struggling financially. They're not saying that on social media. So everyone is pretending to be good. It's okay not to be good. There's days where I'm not good. And why would I be on social media flexing like everything's great? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person.
Yeah. And that's what I've always appreciated about you, literally, about being true to yourself. And, as we both walk in our path, I think that's ultimately what I'm going to remember you by, about just speaking your truth, being intentional, being authentic, and just saying how it is. Yeah, because there's no limits to this, man. So, again, I wanted to be mindful of your time, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
Just thank you for just being here, sharing your light, shining your light, honestly, and just being so intentional and everything. And we ask this as we wrap up in every interview, and we ask about it on the panel. But I'm curious to know, like, as you had time to reflect and be around family, who would you give your flowers to?
Who would I give my flowers to? To be honest, since we already talked about it, just my mom, my family. This, there's nothing self-made about this. There's people who sacrifice a lot, made choices. I mean, can I just give my flowers to everyone that's like been a part of my journey? Like, ex-girlfriends, homies, family, old colleagues, anybody that's been a part of this, man. Like, it's been a crazy ride, but I did not do it alone. And so everyone that has contributed to this journey and to my path and to my success, man, I just want to give them their flowers.
You deserve them, bro.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Well, thank you so much for spending some time, Everette.
Appreciate
you
it,
are a legend, bro. This is going to be legendary,
on,
man. We to the moon with this, man. 2024 is going to be a big year, and I'm just excited, and I'm honored to be sharing space with you, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. And there you have it. That was Off the Cuff with Everette Taylor.